Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so we saw the Kamala bubble, right? It was building and building and building, but of course, like all bubbles, the encapsulating structure can only handle so much pressure. You reach the bursting point, and the bubble pops. Well, folks, I gotta say, it really feels like the Kamala Harris bubble has officially popped. I mean, just look at Kamala Harris's face. You can just tell that her bubble's been bursted. Like I said, since day one, the Democrats had one problem and one problem alone. They set the standard for Kamala Harris to meet, and obviously, she was never gonna be able to jump over that high of a standard bar. It's actually the same problem they had with Joe Biden, actually. Joe Biden's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Joe Biden's got a big brain and big muscles, and Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are shaking in their boots. That's what they kept telling us. Meanwhile, total disaster. Obviously, Joe Biden was never going to meet that standard. And so they've set this incredible image for Kamala as this charismatic character worthy of admiration that we should all follow. And then she starts doing public events. She does her little CNN interview, if we could even call it that. And I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that she's low energy, unimpressive, not very eloquent, and just for the most part, not the person for the job. You know, I've seen a lot of people claiming that they don't want to vote for Kamala Harris because she isn't the main character. She's a side character. She's Joe Biden's vice president. I've seen a lot of leftoids take offense to that, but obviously it seems as though there's some truth to it after all, and no amount of this nonsense.
And what we also know about Kamala Harris in particular is she is by far the most qualified person to ever run for president. If folks have some facts that they like to hand to us to show us why what I'm saying isn't true, I'd love to see them.
Well, no amount of that kind of propaganda will change the facts, regardless of how big your freaking glasses are. I guess the bigger the glasses, the bigger the bullshit. The propaganda wasn't strong enough to mask reality, and so it's reality check time. Kamala Harris is tanking in the numbers, pretty much just as expected. The flame is fizzling out. Let's have a conversation about it. We got some stuff to get into. So let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I think at this point, I'm pretty confident to say that this is, in fact, a trend. I've been waiting patiently for more polling data to drop, and not just the headline polling numbers that you keep seeing Democrats posting nonstop. Some irrelevant no-name pollster where the sample size is totally skewed to benefit Democrats. No, I'm talking about the most accurate pollsters, and specifically polls that are gauging the swing states. And finally, we have some good data. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, if I was a leftoid, I don't know what I'd be thinking right now, but I'll tell you it wouldn't be good. So let's first start off with identifying good pollsters. That I think needs to be step number one in this video, and boom, here's the chart. You got average pollster error in the 2020 US presidential race. At the bottom of the list, we got all the trash. You know, the usual pollsters that I don't tend to give too much credit to. Quinnipiac, ABC, the New York Times, YouGov, Civics, Redfield and Wilton, Change Research, SurveyMonkey, Ipsos, I mean, the list goes on. These pollsters are absolute garbage with massive margins of errors. They never get the results right, they never get even close, and they always overestimate Democrats. And as we move higher up, you'll see three individual pollsters: Rasmussen, Insider Advantage, and Trafalgar. These are the pollsters who have done the best job from back in 2016 to 2020. Some of these pollsters even predicting Trump's 2016 upset victory, while all the other polls were giving a 99% chance that Hillary Clinton was going to win. Well, you probably guess exactly where I'm going with this. We just got some swing state polls from Rasmussen, Insider Advantage, and Trafalgar Group. And let's just say it's not looking so good. If you're a Democrat out there looking for a Kamala post-DNC bump, let me tell you, the bump doesn't exist. Kamala got her bogus bump before the DNC even happened, and now I'm telling you everything's on the down. So we got some swing state Rust Belt polls coming out of Trafalgar, and we got some Sun Belt polls coming out of Insider Advantage. If we merge all of the numbers together, this is the outlook. Trump leads in Pennsylvania by 2.1, in Wisconsin by 1.1, in Michigan by 0.4, in North Carolina by 1, in Arizona by 1, in Nevada by 1, and supposedly, as of right now, 2 months ahead of election, the state of Georgia is a tie. And of course, if we take these numbers and simply plug them into the election map, well then this is the result that you would get. Trump at 296 electoral votes, with the state of Georgia being a toss-up, to Kamala Harris's 226. In other words, Trump is still in the red wave electoral landslide position that he was prior. And I think Democrats are finally starting to wake up to what's going on here. You know, David Axelrod's been all over CNN trying to sound the alarm bells that Kamala Harris isn't in the bullish position that Democrats pretend she's in. And now it seems as though that message is starting to become more common here. Here's Mark Halperin suggesting that Kamala Harris could end up very well exactly where Joe Biden was.
And so here's what I'm here to tell you, that There's some public polling already, there's more coming, and there's some private polling that suggests that nationally in the battleground states, she's not ahead. She might be ahead on paper, but well within the margin of error. And there's some battleground states now where I think Donald Trump's on this trajectory is going to be ahead. And it may be, regardless of what happens in the interview and regardless what happens in the debate, it may be that by the middle of September, when things have calmed down, when the Trump campaign have had time to prey on some of the weaknesses that I suggested, that he's ahead in all the Sun Belt states and ahead in Pennsylvania and competitive in Michigan and Wisconsin, which would be roughly where Joe Biden was before the debate, with a single path to 270 electoral votes, the 3 Great Lakes states and Nebraska too. And that'd be a scary position for the Democratic Party to be in from mid-September through Election Day.
In other words, total bubble collapse. The data's certainly suggesting it. The state of Virginia is getting closer. Wisconsin's now even starting to trend rightward. That wasn't happening even during Joe Biden's worst moments. The only place that's making me a little bit nervous is maybe Georgia, possibly Nevada, considering the Latino vote there tends to trend differently from Latinos on the East Coast. You know, what we might be seeing here is a total bubble burst. This huge spike for Kamala that was short-lived, fake, manufactured, and then boom, right back to reality. That also seems to be what Rasmussen is suggesting here. They just released this graphic on their X account, showing the latest numbers as of August 29th, essentially back to where they were, with Trump at 49% and Kamala at 44%, a 4-point spread. In other words, back to the early August numbers that they were getting. We're also seeing a complete inverting of Nate Silver's 538 Electoral College probability forecast. Remember when it was all the rage a couple weeks ago for leftoids to keep posting Nate Silver's forecasting average? Kamala Harris is now in the lead. That's what they kept saying. Well, it's completely flipped, and now Trump's ahead by 10.5 points. And again, I really need to keep saying this, 2 months ahead of election in early polling data. You know, the meme that you keep seeing everywhere with Kamala Harris's wildly different looking faces, it's the perfect meme to keep spamming all over the internet. Kamala Harris ahead of the DNC and Kamala Harris post DNC. Total bubble burst. The trend is clear here. Actually, let me show it to you guys visually. These are the respective gains that Donald Trump has made in all the swing state polls since the DNC and RFK announcement. Democrats kept laughing, saying, where's that RFK bump that you guys kept talking about? Well, there it is, leftoids. I kept saying, give it a week. It seems we might be finally seeing it. In fact, just to show you how truly bad it might be, here's a poll that was just conducted in Minnesota of all places. Kamala Harris picks Tim Walz, the current governor of Minnesota, and a couple weeks later, her lead in the state drops down to 5 points. Call me crazy, but if Kamala Harris is only leading in Minnesota by 5, with the governor of Minnesota as her running mate, again, I'm just going to say it, total bubble burst. Now, I'm not going to read too much in these numbers and claim the election's over. I'll leave that to the Democrats. But I will say that there's obviously a significant trend here, and the trend seems to be indicating, yet again, another Trump comeback, and this election's not even close to over. On September 18th, Trump is likely to be sentenced to jail or prison time. What do you think that's going to do? The political persecution narrative is right back in play. Trump's numbers are likely to keep going up. We got a lot of election season left here, and the Democrats got a problem. They got a candidate who refuses to campaign and can't campaign effectively. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is firing on all cylinders. It's still a contest, and Donald Trump's in the driving seat, no matter what these left-wing propagandists try to tell you. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.